Dying Light the Beast is finally here, and for the past few days since release, I've pretty much been playing it non-stop. You know that feeling you get when the game you've been waiting forever for finally comes out? That's basically where I'm at right now. Over the past couple of months, I did practically every quest in Dying Light 1 and 2 on the hardest difficulties I could find to prepare for this game. So with that in mind, I was curious to see just how difficult the game really is, and I did not expect to have as much trouble as I did. We start off our journey being mercilessly experimented on by the Baron. In case you forgot how we got to this point, after being turned into a volatile thing in the following by the Mother, we were hunted by the GRE for years before finally getting caught. I'm still not entirely sure how long we were being experimented on beforehand, but one random day out of the blue, Spike and some mystery person infiltrate the lab and attempt to rescue us. This, of course, does not work, and we're put right back into being experimented on. Directly afterward, they bring in another star subject that looks much more promising and is more obedient, and, well, I think we can see just how that went for them. While I very slowly make my way out of this intensely dangerous situation by crawling, I think we need to take a look at just what we're in for with this playthrough. I'm going to be playing on the hardest difficulty available right now, Brutal, and we'll be able to see just how differently this makes the game feel very early on. Enemies are more dangerous, stamina regenerates slower, you lose a bunch of XP when you die, and armor is less impactful. I'm sure there's a few extra things that it doesn't tell you as well, but I think we're in for quite the challenge here. But anyway, returning to the game, we're guided to a nearby adrenaline by a mysterious voice over the radio, which then allows me to stand up and be the absolute Terminator we all know and love. Combat in this game feels really nice so far, and Crane is apparently stronger than he's ever been. Did he just rip the pipe out of the wall? This is where we're introduced to the new Beast mode. Back against the wall, I defend myself for as long as possible until unleashing the Beast. This was such a cool way of introducing the new Beast powers into the game. Something that I've noticed that repeats through the story as well is just how nicely the music complements whatever's happening on the screen. It really helped make the moment feel even more badass, even if it made me relive all the moments I got trapped in a corner in old school Call of Duty Zombies. We escape from the lab and through the tunnels in a very Indiana Jones fashion, and we make our way to what's going to be our new safe house where Olivia, the person who was guiding me over the radio, is waiting for me. Let me go ahead and get something off my chest. This probably won't matter as much to a lot of you out there, but one thing I've always loved about Dying Light and what made it stand out to me is how they fully committed to first person. Other than that really awkward bit at the end of Dying Light 2, where it feels like they decided to experiment with third person out of nowhere, you go through the game pretty much entirely through the viewpoint of the main character. At least from my experience, this made it feel like I was the character and not just controlling the main character. The Beast does still have a lot of first-person elements, of course, but I'm a bit disappointed to see that they seem to be taking a step away from that approach in favor of a more cinematic feel during big story moments. That being said, I don't think the third person looks bad by any means. I think it's just a very obvious personal preference of mine. I'm actually curious of what you think of this new approach to Dying Light, so let me know down in the comments. Getting back to the story now, Olivia gives me the rundown on what the Baron has been up to and what he plans to use his research for. Basically, he wants to weaponize the virus by creating controllable, super-enhanced beings, which has resulted in the Chimera bosses we're going to encounter later on in the game. I believe he can do it too, because as we've seen from other games over the years, weaponizing a zombie virus has only ever ended up in good, positive things. Wouldn't you know it, one of the Chimera I just mentioned was literally right outside, and we're thrown into our very first boss fight of the game. And when I say first boss fight, I do mean the first. Where Dying Light 1 and 2 had only a couple of boss battles, this game has a ton, even more than Dead Island 2. So this is going to make many of my future challenges so much more difficult. This game is really not messing around, especially on brutal difficulty. Not only has it been like 10 minutes into the game before our very first boss, but each time he hits me, I take about half of my health and damage. The machete I was given to use isn't exactly doing a great amount of damage either. There were quite a few close calls when it came to fighting Reaper. In the end, I managed to take him out on my first try without any deaths, using my new beast mode any chance I got to regen my HP. But man, what a start to this game. Directly after the fight, Crane kinda just dies, and the only way to bring him back is to start injecting him with the blood of the Chimera. This will make us stronger, giving us beast points that we can further the skill tree with. And, you know, it can probably help save some of the survivors in the area, I'm sure. But we know what the real plus side is to killing the Chimeras. After Crane takes a brisk power nap, Olivia informs us that we should go make some allies, specifically the ones located at the local town hall. You know what's more screwed up than throwing one boss at me instantly upon starting the game? Yeah, that would be 2 bosses right at the start of the game. This time we're fighting this game's version of a Demolisher, Defect. These are really cool names for bosses, by the way. He's literally just the Hulk. That's all I need to say. He'll jump on you and do a type of crushing attack a lot on you in this fight. It's his favorite, and to be frank with you, I could not for the life of me figure out how to dodge this attack. So I just tanked pretty much every single one and got in hits whenever possible. Somehow, even though I took a ridiculous amount of damage in this fight, I still managed to beat the Defect on my first try. But trust me, my luck will not be holding out for long in that regard. I go to check on the survivors in the town hall, who then tell me to go to the roof to check on their very sketchy sheriff leader, who's currently restoring power to the tower's UV lights located conveniently on the top of this building. Apparently the beast guy thing that we saw in the lab and helped us escape is the one that knocked out the power in the first place. But it seems to specifically be hunting the Baron's men, and didn't attack the survivors as they were escaping. So naturally, even though the beast helped them and saved them from the Baron's men, Jacob here wants me to hunt it down because he's afraid of it. This, of course, sends me on a wild goose chase
at night
in order to find the creature. And the first thing I noticed as soon as I stepped outside was just how insanely dark it was. When I covered the demo before the game's release, I mentioned in the video just how bright it was even while being outside at night without a flashlight, so I'm glad they followed through on their word and made this possibly the darkest Dying Light we've seen yet. The darkness makes the game feel so much more atmospheric, mixed with all the little sounds you hear in the background. And you definitely need the flashlight now in this game. But yeah, there were a few moments during the beast hunt where I almost got decimated by some volatiles, but eventually I find him in this tunnel terrorizing the local wildlife before I'm exploded and barely escaped the tunnel with my life. But don't worry, I'm awarded with a skill point for my trebles once I level up now to level 3. I think it's time we take a look at the skill tree for a moment. For the first time in a Dying Light game, the skill tree splits into 4 directions, each tied to a different playstyle, resulting in it having a bit of a different look. They're still separated into agility, survivor, and power levels, but to be honest with you, I wasn't in too much of a hurry to get very many skills in this game. By far, my favorite skill tree in this playthrough was agility, where active landing, dash, enemy jump, and after boost were the primary skills I wanted to acquire. When it came to the power tree, dropkick was actually the first thing I got since, I mean, it's dropkick. As a longtime Dying Light player, I kind of felt obligated to get it. But I also really looked forward to getting head stomp and efficient fighting later on. As for the survivor tree, the only skill I really wanted was camouflage. Any skills other than the ones I just mentioned, either I didn't use or barely used throughout the rest of the entire campaign. But these 4 abilities that you're seeing on screen right now are, at least in my experience, the ones that shined brighter than the others throughout the game. Getting back to the story, however, Olivia calls us back to the safe house to inject us with more GSP and lets us know she found the 3rd boss of the playthrough. The Baron's men must have been in the middle of transporting it for research, but something made them crash and it broke out, killing them all before escaping into the nearby swamp. Let me introduce you all now to what I believe is the most annoying boss in this game, Mist. If you're like me and think that the Banshee is one of the worst things to ever grace zombie games right alongside the Spitter, then Mist is probably also your least favorite boss. It can pounce at you, jump on other infected, and dive onto you just like any other Banshee, but Mist is also able to spit at you, summon other zombies with her scream, and if you could possibly believe it, fart out a cloud of fog to try and conceal its presence from you. All things considered, Mist would be a cool boss fight, even with all these abilities, if she didn't also have a ridiculous amount of HP. At this point in the game, the best weapon I have is William's knife and this military cutlass, but they barely do anything to Mist's HP. Even our beast mode, which is as powerful as it could possibly be at this point, barely does any damage. Because of all of this, not only was this the first boss that I couldn't defeat on my first try, but it was the first of only a couple of bosses that I was actually stuck on in this game. After 4 attempts and 4 deaths, I decided that instead of forcing myself to suffer, I would go out and try to find a better weapon and maybe do as many side quests as possible to level up before fighting Mist one final time. I can't show you everything I did to prepare and grow stronger since this video would be about 10 hours long if I did, so let me give you the cliff notes of what I went through. I didn't want to look at any guides for my first playthrough, so that pretty much ruled out treasure hunting or Easter egg weapons, since I'm physically incapable of finding those on my own for some reason. Instead, I ran around getting as much XP as I could from activating safe houses, saving random people I happened to encounter, and looting Dark Hollows for their gear and better weapons. Eventually, I came across this two-handed wrench that did a pretty decent amount of damage, along with some ammo I found in the back of a police car, and even materials to craft throwables with if I needed to. So, after almost 2 hours of grinding and exploring, I make my way back to Mist for my final attempt. One of the main things I found difficult about this fight was the fact that Mist could summon these shambler zombies. If I wasn't within arm's reach of the boss to interrupt its scream, I'd also have extremely grabby biters to worry about right alongside the boss. Originally, I was just throwing them into the water, but that strategy was simply too slow. Mist would likely pounce or spit at me before I could finish. But I'm happy to say the introduction of my new wrench pretty much instantly solved the shambler problem. A single hit with this new weapon was enough to completely stagger them and allow me to perform a takedown on them and give me free invincibility for a second. It took me a while, but something that also drastically helped me in this fight was learning how to properly maneuver around the spit projectile. Mist seemingly loves to predict where you're going to be with this specific attack, so what I started doing was strafing left or right at all times, and once I saw the projectile, I'd start moving in the opposite direction. Eventually it would go into its other attack patterns after that, and I could just dodge to get some free damage in. But even after coming back with a better set of weapons, I still do basically minuscule damage. So I switched my fighting strategy from DPS to survival. Another perk to taking out the shamblers with my wrench is that my beast meter builds up pretty quickly, and even though it also doesn't do that much damage in and of itself, I can get Mist and a stunlock for a short time and maybe even take out a few zombies while I'm at it, doing a nice chunk of damage to the boss's health bar. When it comes to phase 2, honestly, not a whole lot changes with this boss in particular. As far as I can tell, it's all the same moves and attacks as phase 1, just at a higher frequency and maybe at slightly more damage. But that's fine with me, because now that I'm in the groove of things, as long as I don't find myself at critical HP, I trust in my ability to run someplace and heal up before the next attack. And finally, after what felt like hours, I lose control and enter beast mode. It tries to run and jump away to the top of this tree, but I follow right behind it, knocking it off and onto its face, before finally taking it out for good with the most satisfying beast takedown animation so far. So, that fight was terrible. But at least we got it done and over with and are finally able to continue. The fight may have been a gigantic pain, but at least we have a few new skill points to spend. For my normal skills, I spent those on enemy jump, since I've run into a few instances at this point where being able to jump over the zombies instead of running through them would have been much more efficient. So this was pretty much a no-brainer. But when it came to the beast point we acquired, I actually had a choice. Do I get the ability to lift a heavy object and throw it, or do I... Nope, didn't even have to finish my sentence. This one is the better skill to work towards. Something I've noticed about beast mode is unless it's specifically catered to and always kept at the front of your mind, you're likely to never be forcefully put into it when this bar is filled and actually get decent use out of it. Gaining the ability to hold on to the beast meter for a moment that I actually need it, whether it be I need a burst of healing or to knock the enemies away, is such a valuable ability I don't think that I can afford to miss out on it. Especially if the bosses from here on are going to be as difficult as Mist was. With that fight dealt with, we are finally able to complete the main mission we were stuck on for a while. This game has a decent amount of side quests to go and do, but they only unlock after reaching certain points in the main quest line. We just completed First Blood, so that means we have quite a lot of content to go through still. In this playthrough, I planned on doing every single side quest available, but unfortunately there is just no way that I could include all of that in this one video. So if you want to watch me go through and meticulously complete every quest, I have a new Vault channel that you can go and watch the full live stream at. I returned to the town hall after fighting Mist, looking like this I presume, and am immediately sent back out without even a moment to rest because I have been nominated to get the power plant running again. Crane really is a jack of all trades, I guess. He's been responsible for the water, power, lighting, communications, food, delivering, extermination, traps, bomb defusing, running, medical. I'd say in Dying Light 3 or 4 we can expect to be repairing a nuclear generator at this rate. So I go, meet a very pessimistic man, clear out about 100 zombies, turn back on the power, get betrayed by the very pessimistic man, and am now surrounded by the Baron's thugs. It goes about as you would expect it to. Okay, we are officially pretty far into the video at this point, and we have done 3 bosses so far out of 9. So we're gonna have to speed things up a little bit. I do another run all the way back to the town hall, talk to the sheriff again when I get there, and then I'm told by Olivia where another chimera is to kill all the way over by the monument. And you'll never guess who was waiting on me. This guy was a pain, but probably not in the way you'd expect. At this point, I've been playing this game for almost 10 hours straight, and I've accumulated a decently sizable stack of ammo in my back pocket. So I went right on ahead and dumped it all into the behemoth's head.
Oh, we got him to free stage 2.
This chimera wasn't nearly as difficult as Mist was, I think, simply because of this fact. He had moves that I've seen before and gotten used to dodging in Dying Light 2, where he ground pounds and throws cars and a dumpster at me. But during his second phase, he gains the ability to, you guessed it, summon more zombies. Being completely out of ammo now, I had no choice but to go in melee range, and, you know, believe it or not, he's quite a bit more dangerous to my health when I'm within backhanding range. Or at least that's what I would say had I not lodged him on top of this dumpster.
Got him stuck on top of that dumpster. I don't know what that accomplishes, but I did it.
I'm not really sure how I pulled it off, but I made as much use out of the situation as I could, killing all the zombies he repeatedly summoned, and pull off yet another incredibly satisfying finisher on him. I'm telling you guys, the takedowns in this game are probably the best part of Beast Mode. At some point after the fight, we're radioed by the sheriff and told to meet her on top of a cliff overlooking the Baron's men. I haven't really gotten a chance to mention this yet since I'm not covering the side quests, but there are a lot of sections in this game where they want you to climb for like 5 minutes straight. But don't worry, I found a really fun way to bypass these sections by wall running on places I should definitely not be able to. The whole point of this location was to investigate what the Baron's men were up to, so I head in and pretty much instantly get betrayed by the sheriff. I guess I kinda saw it coming though, because she told me she'd cover me when I snuck in and miraculously disappeared. But in a shocking turn of events, we're actually saved by the beast this time, so we're not captured quite yet. Luckily, my new best friend Jacob has no idea of the sheriff's motives, so we don't need to include him on our vengeance plans yet. The list of people I need to punish seems to be growing larger and larger though, so I jump right into the next mission. Jacob sends me to go find a group of exiles that are hiding in the mountains, and when I go, I am telepathically contacted by this guy named Sven, and he eventually leads us to meet his friends that were also experimented on by the Baron. Honestly though, nothing is more important to me in this mission than what happens next. For those of you who may be new around here, I very much enjoy doing movement techniques and discovering ways that may be unconventional to get around the environment easier. In this case, the grappling hook is precisely what that's all about. Not only can you use it the way the game intends, but there's a few other things that you can do with it. Some of these techniques originated from Dying Light 2, but with the new feel of overall parkour in the Beast, a lot of things have changed. First off, I'll state that I upgraded it to max level pretty much immediately. This makes the pull when your hook attaches to something much stronger. If you just press the button, it'll send you flying towards wherever your hook lands. This is a great method in and of itself, but it uses a ton of stamina, and eventually you'll run out of upwards momentum. Something else that returned is called the kick jump, that allows you to jump extremely far. You can usually do this trick off of any hanging ropes, but those are pretty rare and situational in this game. The grappling hook, however, can fix that. If you hold down the grapple button, you'll be able to just kinda hang there for as long as you want, so long as nothing gets in the way of your line. But as long as you have the line connected, you have the ability to kick off of it, which means we can do the kick jump, which takes vastly less stamina than the other method that I showed you earlier. Long story short, as long as you have the ability to grapple to something, you have the ability to move in a faster way. Then you can chain them together until you run out of stamina. Here's the final result of what I'm talking about. Selby and the rest of the exiles send me on a nostalgia trip when they ask me to turn on some radio towers for them. With my new grappling hook, I make pretty quick work out of it, and we're just in time to put a stop to the Baron's evil plan of blowing up the town hall. This was honestly a pretty cool mission. Defusing these bombs reminded me a lot of the siblings quest to blow up the volatile hive in the first game. It's at this moment that the game seems to remember that it's been about 20 minutes since our last boss fight. fight. So Olivia gives me a call to put a stop to that right then and there. That just will not do. This chimera is called Toxin, and honestly, this was such a surprise fight to me. For the first time in any Dying Light game, this bolter decides to fight back. He can spit at you, but if you get close enough to melee, he can also kind of bash you like a charger can, all while having the ability to jump around the arena like a revenant. The first phase of Toxin went by extremely fast because I had a surplus of ammo from doing side quests, but eventually I did run out once again and needed to finish the job the old-fashioned way, leaving the final shots in my new marksman rifle to take him down when he was closer to dying. The beast mode was super effective in this fight because it stopped him from jumping away for a little while and glued him in place so I could deal even more damage. With a few final shots from the marksman rifle, I saw the takedown animation pop up and knew that it was over. In the end, I managed to take out Toxin on my first try. By this point, we are getting pretty far on the skill tree. Toxin just gave me like 3 more skill points, and since I saved my last one, I now have enough to unlock Beast Conquered and Aerial Smash. Being able to stun any enemy around me when I enter Beast mode will prove to be extremely useful to me throughout the rest of the game. Techland must be committed to making us feel nostalgic or paying homage to certain Dying Light quests, because for the next mission, we're tasked with breaking into a school to find and save a scientist named Camillo. There's a lot of parts about this mission that remind me of the siblings quest in the first game, and at least for me, it really cemented that they're trying to return to their roots when it came to the way these quests felt, while adding a new atmosphere to them. There were zombies and bandits inside ready to fight me, obviously, but they added on to the experience to make it even better. There's even a part of the mission where the bandits and the GRE gunmen fight one another, which was super cool to see. While Camillo and the rest of the exiles are now working on developing their telepathic abilities, Olivia gives me another call and tells me to meet her at the location of the next big boss, located in this factory. This is Matriarch, and it is another Banshee-type boss. How is this boss fight any different from Myst, you might wonder? Well, they added this Fortnite feature where when she screams, it'll help you track her based on her location. At certain parts of the fight, she'll hide, and you use this sound meter to find where she's located. So don't worry. If your speakers and headphones break at any point during this boss fight, you're probably still good to go. I can't say much about Phase 2 since it only took me about a minute to finish her off, but I think she becomes more aggressive and Myst-like once it starts. Honestly, I felt like Matriarch and Myst were flipped in terms of when they appeared. Myst felt like a huge spike in difficulty when she showed up, and by the time I got to Matriarch, I almost felt overleveled. This was definitely on the lower tier of boss battles that we've done so far, I think, but I did really appreciate a few things. The attempt at a new mechanic, even though they are technically reusing a zombie type, and the arena design that lets you make use of your new grappling hook. Traveling all the way back across the map again, I meet up with Camillo and Lydia to see what their research turned up. In short, not only do they have telepathy, but now it could evolve to be much more than that. With the right research and experimentation, Lydia's abilities could be evolved to control the undead. This is explained by the infected being part of a hive mind, and she'll be able to use that to shut off certain parts of their brain or something. They plan on using this literal superpower to pave their way to the Baron so that we can take him out. But in order for them to unlock this new skill, they need me to sneak into a volatile hive and extract 3 samples from a few of those weird larva things. And this is where Crane says what I think is his best line in the whole game.
You got any more levels of difficulty, Doc? Like, should I do it blindfolded? How about backwards?
I love Crane. Well, they apparently didn't need to ask me twice, seeing as I rushed directly into the cave to find the nest. But what I found first before getting to it was something I'd completely forgotten existed from the trailers. Wraith is by far the coolest boss fight in the game in my opinion, from the way it was revealed down to the mechanics of the fight itself. This chimera is a stealthy one that seems to stalk its prey more than outright attack, and that gave it the impression that it was much smarter than anything we fought so far. You really need to listen for the attacks and sound cues, otherwise you will get punished harshly. What I loved about this fight is that if you had a solid read of where Wraith is, you can still hit it even while it's invisible. There were moments that I closed my eyes, listened for its movements, and blindly swung, and when you actually land a hit like that and see its health bar drop, it is extremely satisfying. But if you thought the fight was rough before, just wait until you get to Phase 3. Once its HP drops enough, it's as if it reverts back to its primal ways as a volatile, forgoing stealth entirely in favor of all-out aggression. I'm sad to say that I didn't first try this boss, however, because I fat-fingered B, pulling out my binoculars while trying to press H to heal, but at least you got to watch me die in IMAX resolution, I guess. Well, I never thought I'd say this, but after that, I feel like the volatile nest should be easy. All I should have to do is stealth through here, and I got caught.
Well,
Okay, on my second try, I managed to make it through, getting all the samples I needed without much issue. I'm telling you guys, you do not want to see me do anything stealth related. We are rewarded with another cool chase sequence, and can finally turn these vials in to complete the quest. Oh, also, I didn't want to mention this, but I think I need to point out that it's canon that Crane carries this extremely sharp-looking injector needle thing in his pocket at all times. And now it's finally time for the Baron's latest chimera, which means the final boss fight before we take on the big bad himself. This one's name is Colossus, and it took me damn near 3 decades to find the entrance to its lair. He's only got 2 phases, but he has an extreme amount of HP if you don't attack him while he's poisoned. I'm not going to spend too much time describing this fight since it's pretty much just a demolisher fight, but just know that Colossus was one of the most annoying ones to deal with since he had so much extra health. If you don't make proper use of these barrels and run out of them, you're stuck doing about this much damage the whole rest of the fight. The next mission we go on, honestly, is one of the coolest in the entire game. This quest gave me similar vibes to the VNC Tower mission in Dying Light 2. It's probably one of the most creepy ones we do in the entire game. Lydia needs a drug that can be found in this unlooted asylum to reach her full potential, but there's a stupid amount of zombies inside. Since she just became a necromancer though, we have pretty much the best chance we're gonna get when it comes to getting this drug. As long as I don't get too close or bump into a zombie, they won't see me. It's kind of a pseudo-stealth mission, which I'm terrible at, but so long as I don't have to be full-on sneaky, I think I should be fine, and I got caught.
Idiot!
This mission is a long one, but eventually I do make it to the place the drug is stored in, setting off an alarm and needing to make another run for it before being thrust into a night chase. I express deliver myself to this treehouse, and mission accomplished, I guess. I don't think I quite did that the way the game thought I would. I don't get time to rest, however. As soon as I return to the others, I'm contacted by Jack Matt
We're under attack! I repeat, Town Hall is under attack!
and told that my town hall is being raided by the Baron. So I go and put an end to that right now. I guess I lied to you all, that wasn't the last Chimera we fought a few minutes ago. In fact, we have like 8 more to go before the end of the game, starting with this one here. And this one. And this one. But don't worry, as soon as you get one of these 2 down to like 10% HP, Lydia takes it over and basically steals the kill and ends up taking all the credit. Oh, and also the sheriff is back. She apologized to us just now for betraying us, and Crane's kinda just like... Also, despite the War of the Worlds that just occurred right outside, it doesn't seem like the people actually inside the town hall had any idea that they were in danger at all.
you guys might need to start paying a little bit more attention to what's going on outside.
It seems that they finally remembered that we haven't seen or even heard of the beast in a while, so the game pretty much entirely shifts over to it at this point. At the pace I went through the story, it's been almost 11 hours since the last time we saw the beast, so not gonna lie, I entirely forgot that it existed. But we needed a plan to get the Baron to come to us instead of the other way around, so this was the best that we could come up with since the Baron has some weird obsession with it. But FP, we've seen what the beast is capable of the entire game. How on earth do you expect to capture it? Well, that's easy. I'll lure it out of the woods with my truck and a bunch of gas, and then proceed to beat it half to death with a baseball bat. This is really how it happened. Well, ladies and gentlemen, it's time for the moment you've all been waiting for.
Who are you?
Yeah! I actually didn't give much of a reaction to this grand reveal in the moment because I kind of had a feeling that it was Aiden. Not because he was in the previous game or anything, but simply because I recognized that godly beast mode scream of his.
Who this is. It is Aiden, I hear him.
This is actually incredibly cool though. Way before the beast was released, I was talking in chat about what I hope to see in future Dying Light games, and a crossover of Aiden and Crane together was really high in my wish list. I in no way expected that to happen in this game, so this was a great surprise. Hearing these 2 absolutely iconic voice actors together was also a really cool experience. I am excited to see where this goes. The downside of actually having played as Aiden in Dying Light 2 is, since you were the main character in that game, when you see him make any dumb decisions, it really stands out. A perfect example of this is when the Baron calls us on the radio like 13 seconds later and wants to trade Spike for Aiden, and Aiden's like, oh, okay. I'll accept that with no questions asked. Like, come on. Aiden had to have known better at this point. We don't have much choice other than to go through with our plan anyway. I break in using the C4 I got from defusing the bombs at the town hall, take out the snipers, and then open the gates for reinforcements to start coming in. Poor Sven dies here, but I honestly wasn't that attached to him. I break back into the lab where the game began, kill about 5 more chimeras with Lydia's help, get betrayed by Olivia, which I was kind of expecting to happen for most of the game, and we find ourselves at a metaphorical and literal Last Supper. This is where the game starts looking and feeling a lot like Resident Evil, I noticed. I don't really have a special way of putting this, but the Baron kills Camillo, and even worse, Spike. Crane says it best here,
Spike did not deserve to go out like that.
and I totally agree. Remember that really tragic death when Aiden killed Veronica in Dying Light 2? Well, this death is even worse, in my opinion. Spike showed up for about 17 seconds, got captured by the Baron for the rest of the game, and showed up at the end just to die in front of Crane. And right after he dies, Olivia finally decides to step in and help everyone escape, saying, "Sorry for betraying you," to Crane, who then immediately forgives her. She says something like she was always on our side and had to hide it until now, but if Olivia wasn't really betraying us, then why did she wait until 2 people died before deciding to enact her plan? I kind of felt like this was a bit all over the place, and Spike died for no reason. I don't know, can we just get a rip Spike in the comments? This legend lived to be like 72 years old in the Dying Light apocalypse. Now that we're properly motivated, as if we weren't before, let's take out the Baron once and for all. His first phase pretty much consists of him shooting a variety of grenade launcher rounds at us, standing as far away from melee range as he possibly can. If you get too close, he'll simply throw something at his feet to get you to back away. Something really cool about this fight is the fact Aiden does fight alongside you, even if he doesn't particularly do a lot. Once you get him to half HP, the Baron will start sending virals after you, which you can turn right back around on him once you lower their HP a bit, like the Chimeras earlier thanks to Lydia. Since the recommended level for the finale is 13, he has quite a bit of health and defense, so I was prepared to be here for a while. Practically the only thing I did was go up and smack him every chance I got. Not much interesting to see here. Once I got him to about 2% health, the Baron injected himself again, Resident Evil style, and turned himself into a volatile? I think that's what he was going for anyway. This guy hits extremely hard if any of his attacks connect with you, and he is often weaving toward and away from you constantly, making it even more difficult to hit him. Even with my max level weapon, I was barely doing anything to him in terms of damage. I was definitely not playing the best I could the day I did this fight, and I ended up dying like 3 times just because I could not for the life of me time this jump correctly. If this shockwave attack hits you, it's gonna knock out about 3/4 of your health bar. But eventually I learned I could just climb on top of these box crate things to avoid the shockwave, and use my beast mode mostly to stun him off of me if I found myself close to death. Those 2 things alone were the key to me being able to out-survive him and finally take him out in the end. This final sequence is one of those moments that I wish was entirely in first person, but hey, at least we got to see the dropkick be the thing that puts an end to the Baron's life. Oh, and also the pull to the heart. I guess that'll do it too. And we end the game with teasing the new potential villain of Dying Light 3, possibly being the GRE person that was over the radio in Dying Light 1, which honestly was a major surprise for me. I did not expect that. But yeah, that's the end, everyone. Man, what a fun game. I did end up finishing every side quest, and the final time it took me to beat the whole game was about 29 hours. There was so much that I loved about this game, from the music to the missions. Everything felt like a step up in quality and care from the team at Techland. I do think I still prefer the movement and combat of Dying Light 2, but I feel the Beast really brought back a lot about what made Dying Light feel special. There were a few things I think didn't hit the mark, like the amount the zombies grab you and just the way that the story went, but that's to be expected, and honestly the positives greatly outweigh the negatives in this case. But overall, I loved this game, and I think it's a great launching point for Dying Light 3. I'm more than excited to see where we go from here, and I hope you all are too.